framework directive. And by its name suggests, it sets up the regulatory framework in the telecom sector in the European Union. So it's kind of a mother directive among all these directives. Okay. The second directive is called Directive on the Authorization of Electronic Communication Networks and Services, the so-called Authorization Directive. The third is called Directive on Access to and the Interconnection of Electronic Communication Networks and Social Facilities, the Access Directive. The fourth is called Directive on the Universal Service. Okay, the Universal Service Directive. And the fifth is called E-Privacy Directive. It regards the protection of privacy and the electronic communications. Yeah. But generally, this is more about. We usually discuss more about this directive in the regulation of internet. Okay. But anyhow, in the telecom, in very specific telecom sector, usually the previous four directive is about the main idea of the 2002 telecoms package. So what did these directives do? Let's take a look. Okay, the framework directive provides an overall structure. Okay, so it set up the framework. It provides an overall structure for the new regulatory regime and set out fundamental rules and objectives which read across all the new directives. The 5 new directives. Okay. In its Article 8, it sets out 3 key policy objectives, and these are the 3 key objectives are: the first is the promotion of competition. Okay. The second, a development of the internal market. And the third, the promotion of the interests of the citizen of the European Union. But these are very, very abstract, very concise. So how it just set objectives, but the details are in not just in the framework directive, but also in the 4 other directives. But the 3 main objectives are here: promote competition and development of the internal market and the promotion of the interests of its citizens in the European Union. So these were the things that the framework directive wanted to achieve. And with regard to authorization directive, it established a new system. Okay. So before the introduction of the authorization directive, it was not impossible, but it was very difficult if you want to become a telco, if you want to become a telco company, because there's a very complicated licensing regime. The nation will have to review your ability, including your financial ability, your ability to provide telecom services. The result is very difficult to become a telco at that time. But with the introduction of authorization directive, generally anyone, if you want to become a telco, you want to operate a telecommunication business, it's much easier. You just have to notify the national regulator with a very simple process of reviewing, and you can become a telco. Okay, this is somehow the idea of liberalization in the telecoms market. Because in the past, the telecom sector or telecoms market is very highly or very intensely regulated. The nation did not want anyone can provide telecom service. So they will review and set up very high threshold if someone wants to become telecom. But with the liberalization of telecoms market, it's more of inclining to the idea to the general competition regulation, right? As we talked about at that time, like the telecom, we call the sector-specific regulation. It's very different from the general competition regulation. At that time, there was a lot more intensified in the sector-specific regulation, and everything has to be the regulation in the sector-specific regulations are more like a ex-ante. Yeah. Everything to be reviewed, to be regulated in advance. But as for the general competition law regulation, it's more ex-post. Everything to be regulated afterwards. Okay. So it's, with the introduction of the authorization directive, it's it was more like inclined or moving from the direction of sector-specific regulation towards general competition regulation. It makes becoming a player in the market much more easier. Okay. And the third directive, the Universal Service Directive, it defines a basic set of services that must be provided to end users. Okay, we talk about universal services, right? It means the telecom service are not just for a certain group of people, but just should be for every citizen. Okay, and the fourth one is the Access and Interconnection Directive. Set out the terms in which providers may access each other's networks. Okay, never mind. We will talk more detailedly about each directive. Just following the. Okay, there were two new main concepts introduced with the entering into power of the framework directive. The first, it changed the idea of the traditional telecommunication into electronic communication. It's because the idea of convergence. Okay, in the past, telecoms or telecommunication is telecommunication. But with the idea of convergence, anything transmitted from the electronic devices can be regarded as a kind of like a communication, like similar to the telecommunications that we used to have. So it changed the idea of telecommunications into electronic communications, which means it contains the idea of convergence. Okay. Anything transmitted from electronic devices networks are in this regulatory framework. But for the convenience of my lecturing, I will still call telecom or telecommunications. Okay, but at that time they changed the idea of telecommunication to electronic communication. And the second main concept is it moved a little bit toward general competition regulation. As we just talked about, traditionally at that time, before that time, there was always one or maybe two major players in the telecoms market. The idea of SMP SMP means significant market power, which means like a very powerful market player in the market. Okay. The idea, the concept of SMP did not start just from framework 30, but before that, the European Union already had the idea of regulating SMP. Okay. Maybe you should take a look at the next slide first. Okay. Because even with the introduction with the 2002 telecoms package, the ideas of regulating in the telecoms remains the same. The first, the idea is just to regulate the SMP and to regulate properly about SMP. The first, you have to define the regular market. Okay. So the ways or the method of defining market, for example, like geographically, or by the character of services and the products. You can define a relevant market, and you can see whether there is SMP, whether there's a significant market power player in that market. And then the third step is to choose the appropriate regulatory measure to regulate that SMP, to regulate that market. Okay, so this, even with the introduction of the 2002 telecoms package, the idea remains the same. You have to define the market and then to find out whether there's a SMP. And if there is, you have to find a proper, appropriate measure to regulate that SMP. Okay. Okay, so we just look back at this. Okay, so besides, so the second idea with the introduction of the framework directive in 2002 is just, okay, so the idea is to move a little bit forward, a little bit toward the general competition law. Okay. If the regulator finds there's a SMP in the market, okay, it can maintain the ex-ante regulation, the sector-specific regulation in that market. But if in a defined market, they cannot find an SMP, they will move to ex-post regulation, the general competition regulation. Okay, so this is kind of a big step, move from the sector-specific regulation towards general competition law regulation. Okay, so these are the two important concepts introduced by the framework directive in 2002. So, okay, so these are the general ideas of telecom regulation in the EU. And since we are here, we just talk about something about how do we find with a layer